I have time traveled here to London in the year 1890 in order to prove a point. A historian's greatest enemy is evidence. Where they have evidence, they must grapple with understanding it outside of their modern framework, and where they do not have any, they struggle with patching up the many gaps in information. I am joined today by a Mr. Smith, a local, in order to demonstrate these points. Hopefully my spacesuit doesn't inadvertently reveal I am from the future. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Good morning. Mr. Smith, could you please tell me what you would recognize as some important elements of popular culture? Certainly. By popular culture I assume you mean mass culture. As to be popular, something must be enjoyed by the masses, and in addition, as the acquaintances I regularly mingle with number in the hundreds and are white, middle-aged Christians, I assume you mean what is popular to them. Quite often, the Darcys and the Joneses like to join my wife and I for a jolly evening at the local music hall. We enjoy listening to the likes of Champagne Charlie. However, at times it seems as though perhaps we have misheard a word or two, as others in the audience rambunctiously laugh when we do not. I know music hall is widely popular and would say it is part of popular culture today because when I go and look around me, the rooms are filled with hundreds of people. Of course, the wives must be protected from too crude of humor, but generally, it is a respectable place for an evening of enjoyment. It is nothing like the evils of the public houses. Many a sermon have I heard my pastor talk of the horrors that befall those who seek refreshment and company there. Young single men and family men alike are drawn in by the sparkling lights and mirrors of these establishments, where they are quickly brainwashed by the bar maids who act as prostitutes of the public houses. Quickly these men fall in disparity, spending all their money on drink, failing to provide for their families, and eventually succumbing to the evils of their vice. Thankfully I rarely have to lay eyes on these establishments or these men, and for that reason I feel confident in saying they are not popular and they do not fall into the category of culture. They are a far cry from the respectable music halls, and their indecency should not be encouraged. Thank you, Mr. Smith. So you do not believe public houses encourage a sense of social belonging and community? Certainly not. If my friends are not partaking in it, it cannot be popular. How about that ditty? My old man said, follow the van. I hear that is quite popular to listen to. Never heard of it. And have you heard of something called musical comedy? No. What is it? It is a performance including both acting and singing, usually including some humor, something for instance like HMS Pinafore. Oh, you mean comical opera? Well, why did you not say so? Yes, I have heard of it. I have been to a few but found them to be mostly crude and hardly ever funny. Much like the music hall, I have oftentimes found myself unaware of something seemingly hilarious throughout the rest of the audience. I do not believe it to be popular, as it is not an event I frequent, and indeed I would say all of my friends far prefer the more appropriate operas. Mr. Smith, have you ever read A Good Blood Press? And if so, what was it called? Never. They are vile and only do harm to those who read them. They are evil, and no born man need ever read one. I hope they are not popular. Now, Mr. Smith, how do you feel about these new department stores? On this issue I profess I am torn. I welcome the idea of a place where my wife may go to complete all of her shopping at once, and more cost-effectively, as well as a place that seems to provide such a high level of security with footmen at the doors to turn away the unsavories. I recoil, however, from the idea of allowing my wife and her fellows a place where they might partake in the evils of drinking and socialization. If my wife goes to these places, I hope that she will complete her task and return home at once. But I fear, with the choice to have a nip and then talk with other women, that she may be there for hours. Never mind the obscurities of having parlors where women may stare at themselves for hours in the mirrors, or apply makeup tantamount to that of a prostitute. As I am so torn on this issue, I choose to accompany my wife to department stores that have items of interest to me, so that I may closer monitor the amount of time she spends there as well as who she is socializing with. Mr. Smith, do you play football? I do not, I must say, as much as it would be good for my body to do so. However, I take strolls on occasion and I stretch my muscles, and I have managed to father 4 children. I do, however, enjoy watching the sport of football. As long as the crowd is obedient, it can be good fun. I think, though, if I am going to pay to see something, I would rather see a freak show or circus. My favorite is the Elephant Man. I do not allow my wife to watch him, but he's truly disgusting and I do enjoy seeing him. It is great fun to watch those invalids in the society, especially when the Queen herself sanctions the exhibits. Often I will not go unless a program specifies that a doctor has confirmed there is something wrong with the freak, to ensure I am not being taken advantage of. This is pure entertainment, and definitely what I would consider cultured entertainment. Mr. Smith, have you heard of something called jazz music? It is very popular in France. I most certainly have not. That is France, not in Britain, and what is popular there is usually that of an obscene nature. Britain is pure and mighty, as is apparent when you look upon the great British Empire. And here we like normal music. Not that jazz filth. It is definitely not popular here. None of my friends even listen to it. I hope my enlightening talk with Mr. Smith serves my point. When I arrived here from the year 2013, I had a much different idea of what was considered popular. I hope that it is apparent that almost everything can be interpreted in a number of different ways by a number of different people. This conversation is sure to illustrate the difficulties of studying not only popular culture but history itself.